Give a warm black hand to Brother Ojenke. Here at Marcus Garvey. Brother Roots.
All right.
Okay. I think this week I have told you guys about, our guest speaker that was coming, and he's here. And this brother right here is not only a leader in our community, but he's also a friend as well, and a whole wealth of knowledge. And I think that he could probably explain more about what he's done and who he is than I can. But from what I know the brother to be very knowledgeable, to the point where we even refer to Ojenke University. Because whenever you go around him, you gotta deal with knowledge, you gotta deal with our history, our culture, and this is a brother that anytime I go into his presence or his dwelling, there's people talking about what's going on around us, not just talking about football games and little trivial stuff, but really talking about the real deal of what's going on around us. I want to go ahead and get our lecture going. A strong black hand to Brother Ojenke.
I woke up in a curfew, and oh Lord, I was a prisoner too. I could not understand the faces standing over me. They was all dressed in uniforms of brutality. How many rivers do we have to cross before we finally talk to the boss? It seems like everything we've had, we've already lost. We must have already done paid the cost. That's why we're going to be burning and looting tonight. Burning and looting tonight. Burning illusions tonight. Burning illusions tonight. So that lyrics from Bob Marley is how I would like to start out this talk on brotherhood. Brotherhood is a concept, a reality that many of you young brothers have not experienced in this day where you got Bloods and Crips and Pyrus and everybody killing everybody at gang wars and all this here. But I want to talk about a time when the gangs disappeared from the black community and was replaced by a sense of brotherhood all over the black community. At that time in the, let's say the 1960s, the black community looked much different than it does today. And you could go anywhere in the black community and be safe. Because as long as you was black, you could be light as daylight or dark as night. It didn't matter. Wherever you went, you was a brother. Everybody was a brother. There was no war. We was united in the purpose of trying to free our people. That was the liberation movement of the 60s. That was the first time that black people stopped looking at the ground when white people was around. That was the first time that the negative self-images that had been installed in the black mind by the experience of chattel slavery was completely destroyed. we know that the captivity and the enslavement process that we had to go through as a people left a lot of indelible hurt on our souls. It was in the early 20th century that the man whom your school is named after, Marcus Garvey, came out and began to teach black people that we were a noble and royal people. He taught us about our African ancestry. He taught us to look toward Africa. We began to feel a sense of pride and move forward. And I think most of you already know that Garvey had the biggest organization of black people in history. The UNIA had millions of dues-paying members. Internationally, all around the world, we have black people who was part of this organization. But we know that Garvey and the UNIA was sabotaged by the United States government. Because we're going to see this pattern repeated over and over again throughout our history. Whenever there's a black people coming together and being successful, the U.S. government or white people are going to do something to try to discombobulate it. Well, they did this here to Marcus Garvey. They sabotaged the Black Star ship line that Garvey had built, and they arrested Garvey for tax evasion. So they threw Garvey in jail and then ultimately deported him. But in 1919, when Garvey declared himself the president of Africa, basically, there was another man who came on the scene. His name was Paul Robeson. How many of you have ever heard of Paul Robeson?
Let's see.
Nobody here has heard of Paul Robeson?
Ronson, you heard of him? Raise your hand.
Pardon?
Thought Ronson had heard of him.
Have you?
No.
We studied him. We studied Paul Robeson. Actor, deep voice.
In African history, they got it.
Well, in 1919, Paul Robeson graduated from Rutgers College, one of the finest white universities in the country. And he graduated Phi Beta Kappa and a valedictorian of his graduating class. He spoke 22 languages fluently, including Mandarin Chinese. Well, Robeson got Uncle Sam really angry at him because he was a big black man and he was busting up all of the negative stereotypes that they had said about black people. Robeson, in 1919, Robeson, besides being a valedictorian of his class, he was the only black man to be named to the All-American football team. He was, in 1919, you got to appreciate how unique this was for a black man back in that time to be an All-American. That was unheard of. But yet Robeson did it. Robeson proved that a black man could be smarter, stronger, and swifter than any white man. So they didn't like Robeson for that reason, and he was a role model that they didn't want to be there. So what they did, Robeson was the first victim of what they call the CIA's MK Ultra program. That program was where the CIA would come and they would slip some hallucinogenic drug on the person. The person didn't know that he was being doped up. So Robeson was at what was it? It was a diplomatic party in Moscow, and the CIA slipped him some wine that they had spiked with LSD. When Robeson drank it, and all of a sudden he started experiencing these bizarre hallucinations. He started seeing things, the wall talking or whatever. So he started acting really bizarre. He didn't know that they had this LSD in him. So he started acting very bizarre. So what did they do? They went, the United States government shanghaied him to England, where they committed him to an asylum. And they gave him 200 shock treatments. And sent him back to America, a shadow of his former self. So we're going to see that what happened to Robeson, as I said, it's a pattern of whenever black people try to get themselves together, they mount some type of program to mess us up. So, but Robeson and Marcus Garvey were forerunners of the man called Malcolm X. Malcolm X, father was a Garveyite minister. He was going around to black churches, teaching black people about their African lineage and advocating a return to Africa for the black people in this world. Of course, one day Malcolm discovered that the Ku Klux Klan had grabbed his father, put him on the railroad tracks when the train was coming, and that's how he got killed. I'm looking at the age of this audience, and like some of the things that I would like to talk about are sort of X-rated, you know. Especially when I talk about slavery. I don't like to watch movies about slavery because once you see how horrible our ancestors had to, those horrible experiences they had to suffer, it gets to you. But people like Garvey and Malcolm was trying to get us to fight against this here oppression. And for no other reason than that, they became the enemies of the United States. But Malcolm was the voice that awakened black people in the 60s. And it culminated where black people began to say, well, we're not going to take this here no more. In 1965, in Watts, black people set that little town on fire. It was the Watts riots, the flames seemed to have lit up the minds of black people. And out of that came a whole bunch of black liberation organizations. Primary amongst them was the Black Panthers, the US organization, we at SNCC, and the group that I belonged to was called the Watts Writers Workshop. I remember the first poetry reading I did publicly was at LA City College. And on stage with me at that occasion was a brother called Bunchy, who was the head of the Black Panthers in LA. And also on stage with us that day was Maulana Ron Karinga. So this was a time when, like I said, this was a time of brotherhood between brothers. There was no animosity, no gang warfare, nothing going on between us then. The Panthers and us at that time, there was, like I said, we was all on stage together, we was all grooving together. But what happened to this unity was a guy called J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover came with what he called the COINTELPRO. And that was dedicated to get rid of any black leader that rose under the theory that you kill the head and the body will die. So what they did was that they pitted the Panthers against the US. I was at the Black Congress, which was during that time, it was an organization of all of the black liberation organizations. We all got together and had this place called the Black Congress. And we was there one day, and Karinga said something to Bunchy that infuriated him. Next thing you know, Bunchy slapped Karinga. That seemed to initiate a very violent warfare between those two groups, which ultimately ended in Bunchy and his right-hand man, John Huggins, being shot by two members from us. They was at UCLA, and the guys from us came in, called them the Steiner brothers, and they shot Bunchy and John Huggins dead. But during that same time, the FBI went and put the COINTELPRO in Chicago on a brother named Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton was a very powerful organizer of black people, and it was on his birthday. They was having a birthday party for him, and his right hand, or his man that was handling his security, was really an undercover operative for the Chicago police. And unbeknownst to Fred, on that night, this guy slipped a Mickey into Fred Hampton's wine. And so he also gave the police a blueprint, a layout of Fred Hampton's pad, and he left the door unlocked that night. So early in the morning, the police come in there. Fred Hampton was doped. He was sleeping. The Mickey that the guy gave him, he was sleeping when he came in there in his bed with his woman, and they ventilated. They shot him multiple times in his sleep. He never woke up. That's just an example of what happened to people during the 60s. The idea, like I said, was to cut off the head and the body will die. So Fred Hampton was the head of that organization. Yeah, those were very trying times. So what they saw was that the black people were coming together, and that as long as they was coming together, we had a certain power, and this what we call black unity. So what did the U.S. government decided? Well, wait a minute, we cannot allow these people to be together. So what did they do? They dumped rock or crack cocaine into the black community. You guys probably are too young to know about the devastating impact of that drug upon our community. But this here really discombobulated our community. Families busted up. Sisters who were very church-going sisters had become very immoral. It was the most terrible thing, the most terrible plague that hit to hit the black community. So they said, what we have to do is we have to destroy the head. So they went after the black intelligentsia. They brought in a Uncle Tom called Ward Connolly. Ward Connolly came and he said that we should get rid of affirmative action. How many of you know what affirmative action is? Okay. What is affirmative action, young man? Affirmative action. You don't know, and this raise your hand?
Do something quick.
Pardon? No.
When you do something quick.
Okay. Okay.
That's the way it is.
That's the interesting concept.
Anybody else?
Do anybody have an idea of what affirmative action is?
Go ahead, sir.
Well, affirmative action was a program that they had in the universities and colleges that would make a way for black people to be able to go to college. So, but Ward County was appointed by Governor Pete Wilson to get rid of affirmative action because too many black people were becoming educated, and the last thing that they want is a highly educated black population. So the idea was to destroy the black intelligentsia, which is basically what a lot of you young brothers are going to be one day, hopefully. Yeah, y'all going to be our intelligentsia. Because everybody need a head to think for them, to speak for them, to look out for them. And that would be your job as men. Hopefully you are preparing yourself for that great responsibility. But anyway, Ward County was very successful. He got affirmative action passed, and at UCLA, there used to be a lot of black students there. Yeah, it used to be. But with the affirmative action gone, the black student population declined dramatically. So I would like to end this talk with some words from His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie. And it goes like this, it says, until the philosophy that holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, everywhere is war. Until there are no longer any first-class and second-class citizens of any nation, you got to say war. Until the color of a man's eyes is of no more significance than the color of his skin, everywhere is war. Until the basic human rights are guaranteed to all, the dream of international morality, world citizenship, shall remain but a fleeting illusion, but never attained. We Africans will fight if we find it necessary, but we know that we shall win. But we are confident in the victory of good over evil and good over evil. With that, I'm going to open for any questions. Does anybody have any questions?
No, a few of you do, but I'm going to ask a question to maybe influence you guys to ask some questions. I noticed that on campus, I know Brother Saunders and I was talking about how, you know, back in the day we used to, as we used to call it, bag on each other, play the dozens.
That's right.
But what we've noticed is that at times we have those that don't just bag to play the dozen, but they're demeaning each other. Can you talk on the difference between the two, between us, you know, having fun with each other, maybe joking with each other, and then on the other hand, where we got more of the demeaning situation.
Well, that demeaning stuff is what I call the residue of slavery. This is the impact that slavery had upon the black people, where they believed in they internalized that meme that says, excuse the language, I told you this will be X-rated, but they believed the meme that says, a nigga ain't shit. Now, when they have that attitude toward each other, that creates a negative type of ribbon. What we was doing back in the day, we had a sense of brotherhood. Black people loved each other back in those days. So we could argue without rancor. And that's the key thing. You can argue with people, but you know that they don't mean you no ill will. You see?
When they got to the point where you see these two groups, these brother groups like us, Black Panther organization, were very significant.
Right.
Going at each other due to COINTELPRO,
Absolutely.
counterintelligence program created by the FBI, I think,
Right.
to destroy something that was built. After this, you see the gangs
That's right.
appear. Now they have no head, and they fighting each other. One time in LA, the gangs were protecting the black neighborhoods from what they called
That's how they started out.
they were
Right.
but they were like white gangs that were
Night riders.
Right. Well,
What were they called?
They're protecting the hood from the night riders.
from the night riders.
But see, when I came up, see, the name of the gang, the white boys, the skinheads that come down to the ghetto and beat up black people, their name was called the Spook Hunters.
Spook hunters.
The Spook Hunters.
Spook hunters, yeah. And they had those gangs. So I see the same thing happening with the music. At one point, the music, when I'm talking music, I'm talking about hip hop and R&B, but hip hop was uplifting people.
That's right.
Telling people to go to school, telling people to be positive, love your sisters, love your brothers, and all that. And then as they start taking out certain people,
Yeah,
and then they start pushing forward a certain
that's right.
agenda. Like the agenda now, it started out mumbling, but there was mumbling in rap. And then the more you sounded like you really weren't too intelligent, the more promotion you got.
Yeah.
So you would have something like a situation here in LA, you had Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah.
Nipsey Hussle, who had a good flow, a good cadence, and he spoke about things that would actually build and strengthen the neighborhood. Then you'd have somebody like a Cardi B, who basically is more or less, she gets a Grammy, he just gets nominated. But she gets the Grammy, but lyrically, if you were gonna compare the two, she doesn't compare.
Right.
But if I say you're the greatest, the youth see it and say, well, I guess Cardi B's better than Nipsey Hussle. So then we should focus on that maybe, instead of focusing on all this doing too much content.
Right.
You know, so it's almost like the same game was played with the music industry, because I came up in the 80s and the 90s, and you had options of hip hop. And hip hop comes due through bebop, poetry, and all this other stuff. So when you had options, you could listen to gangster rap, or you could listen to Daisy Age, or you could listen to conscious rap, or you could listen to underground. You know, you had options. Now that's canned up and served to you as this is what your culture is. So I just was like speaking on that, because I know you had got to that point, you ran out of time, you was hitting that spot where the gangs would now appear and not know what they were fighting for, but then they dumped the drugs. Now you're fighting for the money and the guns.
That's right. I know that. Yeah. Well, like you say, before the movie, there was some gangs. It's like we had Slausons, we had businessmen, we had the gladiators, coming out of manual,
Daniel Watts.
manual had that age. And even Dorsey had it then back then. They call them the Rough Riders. You see. And back then, you couldn't really go into another gang's territory and be necessarily safe, let's put it like that. But they was all protecting their own turf, you know. Like the brother said, everybody was protecting their turf. If you was from a different set, you're gonna have a problem. I remember when I was going to Fremont, a guy from Manual Arts, from the Gladiators, jumped over the fence at Fremont and came on the campus with one of them balls, metal balls with the spikes on it, and on the chain. And he came on campus and he said something like, "Screw Slauson." Now Slauson is a home ground was Fremont.
Right.
See, well that was really
You started something.
well, he was really a bold guy.
Yeah,
He was really a bold guy because they didn't waste no time in just wearing him out. If it had not been for Mr. Humboldt, the vice principal coming and rescuing him, he would have been dead, a dead man that day. But you got to give him credit for having courage.
Definitely a brave one.
He was very brave, you know.
Brother Ojenke, how do we bring the young people to focus on unity in a society when all of them have screens in front of them now? How do we get them to work together again as young brothers who are developing into men?
They gotta dare to be different.
Dare to be different.
Yeah,
I like that.
but they have to have what we had when we was coming up. They have to have strong voices, strong black voices that are showing them or telling them exactly what it is, you know. If you don't have your mentors, you're not going to do anything. See, so classes like this here are a big step in that direction. See, we need to have black leaders who are more exciting than the movie and the TV.
And the video.
And right. But see, somebody need to tell Spike Lee we need us a real movie about Marcus Garvey.
I agree.
You see, you have to put that
Put that in there.
into the minds of the people. We cannot let people like Marcus Garvey and Malcolm and Paul Robeson disappear from the pages of history, which is actually what they tried to do with Paul Robeson. You know, President Truman gave the order for all books and everything bearing reference to this great man to be destroyed. Paul Robeson was the only man in history who the president gave an executive order, say, don't let him out of this country, use any means, up to including deadly force. They don't want to let Paul outside the country because he go over to Europe and tell them about how they was treating black people and shit. They was really upset with Paul. You know, if they didn't want to let him out the country. You know? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, let's not take too much of the, let's give Brother Ojenke a warm black hand. And you know, brothers, I wanted to bring, when you see people that we invite here to speak to the to the brothers of Garvey. Very similar from my experience for what happened when I was at Washington. We would invite people that didn't necessarily have to be the popular on TV popular, but people that are popular in our neighborhood, and people that are what we call not plastic. You know what I mean by people that are not plastic? What's that mean?
Fake.
Yeah, people that are not fake, that are real and that are actually genuinely doing work in our community. And those are the people that we want to introduce you to. People that you see this brother in the neighborhood. You know, this ain't somebody who's coming from Beverly Hills out of there and coming down to us and sharing with us. This is a brother that's actually been here and been in our community. And so, you know, when you see this brother, greet him, and you guys are the ones that's going to be taking the torch. Remember everything that he said. That's why I videoed this, because we're going to go back over some of the things he talked about, and maybe when we have him come back, we can have some more questions for him. You know, after we dissect some of the things that he talked about. I actually learned a lot today too, as a teacher here. And so, thank you, Brother Ojenke. Appreciate it. All right. And also want to acknowledge, obviously, Brother Saunders, who has been running this with me, with us, and also Brother Roland right here, which is a parent. You know, we want to give it up because it takes those adults that come that make that happen. And brother, and now I'm finally gonna say, and Brother Rootsman, who is actually an artist as well. You might see him in the neighborhood. You might see him performing at different events.
I'll do something for you guys.
Yeah, okay, well, that'd be cool.
He might do something for us right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna do something for you right now.
Oh, okay, all right, wait.
Since this is Marcus Garvey School, and you know, we find it fitting that you have some young spongy minds, you know. So it's always good to, you know, catch the pearls before very receiving, you know, ones, rather than casting before swines. So I see you guys have Marcus Garvey t-shirts on, and it says, growing or bestowing knowledge, cultivating excellence, and uplifting community. Well, that's, you know, those are the things that we live by these things. Those are not just words. Those are things that you should really apply to your day-to-day journey. How you get out with your brethren, and when you're at home, everything you do should be about your model. So, this song is called Long Live Marcus Garvey. I want you guys to know that Marcus Garvey is somebody that shouldn't just be a cliche or a t-shirt. It should be something that you guys are applying to you right now, because Marcus Garvey's philosophy is really state-of-the-art black knowledge of how to get what is ours, because it's a self-reliance. He's a self-reliance genius. Long live Marcus Garvey. Long live Messiah Marcus Garvey. Long live Marcus Garvey. Hope you might erase that what him told me. Long live Marcus Garvey. Long live Marcus Garvey. Long live Marcus Garvey. Hope you might erase that what him told me. Step is something or anything. To these feed the calling of the king. Red, black and green are the colors of the skin. Royal domination when you know the man in Marcus Garvey had a vision, oh not a dream. John will they say when they bless you with the melanin. Told the people them stop bleaching your black skin. A sucker lightning burn the million chain. Boom. Long live Marcus Garvey. Long live Messiah Marcus Garvey. Long live Marcus Garvey. Oh, the motivation of the long live Marcus Garvey. Long live Messiah Marcus Garvey. Long live Marcus Garvey. Oh, you want to the top of philosophy. I clean. Rise up something, come make me chant and sing. Look to the man, you know, say yes in the whirlwind. Double the sword upon him, strike and ting. Black Star Line of 7, 9, 13. Miles of 6 upon you know the ocean sailing. Repatriation tell them what a high level in. Unity you know the strength. That's not broken. Long live Marcus Garvey. Long live Marcus Garvey. You say long live Marcus Garvey. Okay, what do you say that I want you to again? Long live Marcus Garvey. that you give me right now, I can feel all the energy. Likewise, the energy that Ojenke gave us, we can feel it. So that is all Marcus Garvey legacy is about. Recycling and cultivating that black energy so it doesn't die out. We have to keep it going. And you guys are going to be the generators and the forces on earth to push this blackness to the next level. So we give thanks to see that Marcus Garvey philosophy is in the right hands.
All right.
Boy come in there. Later turns out, people find out that he's the son of Richard Helms, who was director of the CIA. And he gave Bob some shoes to wear for this shooting that they would do for the soccer. When Bob put the shoe on, he immediately screamed in pain.
Ouch.
Ouch, yeah. Because they discovered that inside the shoe, up by the toe, was this big toe, was this needle. And this needle had been punctured his toe, but this needle had been treated with cancer virus. And so when it penetrated Bob's toe, this virus got into Bob's bloodstream. And the cancer started in his big toe. Then it metastasized on up into his body and into his lungs and eventually into his brain. But the point was that Bob was bringing a message that the wicked cannot stand. And he was telling the truth of, he was telling Africans to unite. Now, that there is something that we know they don't want to happen. Because we see what happened to Muammar Gaddafi. Gaddafi was financing the United African States. That was where all of the African countries were going to come together and become one nation. This here frightened the Western powers. So they got together and they figured out a way. Well, what happened was that they had been trying for many years to get rid of Gaddafi, but they couldn't do it until Obama coming on the set. And Obama is another interesting phenomenon.
Very.
Because when Obama was running for president, we saw another level of black unity. Black people united around that. That was the hope that this guy was going, one of us, was going to come and he was going to look out for us. Well, that was a very big disappointment. Let me put it like that. You know, it was a very big disappointment because Obama did not look out for us. Matter of fact, Obama might have done
For the gay folks.
right.
More than us.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Exactly right.
Right.
Us common folk.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Was like God, you know, traveling around with God, you know.
To the ancestors!
Blacker than the skies at midnight.
Pyramids
Great ancient priests, warriors and mystic scientists, give us the inspiration to fight 1,000 lions. Give us
Give us the sustenance to travel through the trackless sustenance harmony. Help us in this time of need. Pray we are after name. Power to the black people. Amen. All right. Good job.